Winter has taken over the Swiss countryside. Everything feels much calmer, more introverted, and in a state of resting. Darkness is omnipresent, there is snow falling from the sky, and harsh winds send merciless breaths of ice. There is no season of the year that invites to slow down and unwind, much like winter. For me, many included, winter can be a time of the year that can feel a little challenging and overwhelming. I occasionally grapple with the encroaching darkness and a peculiar yet familiar sense of isolation. Everything demands a touch more energy, requiring an extra effort to illuminate the shadows. In pursuit of mental and physical well-being amidst the winter chill, I have a few activity suggestions to share. Maybe you'll find something that piques your interest. Feel free to leave your best recommendations in the comments. Like in my fall activities video, I am going to start with a delicious pastry to bake during this winter. I love Swedish baked goods. Cinnamon and cardamom rolls are an absolutely guilty pleasure on every trip to Scandinavia. To have a little bit of a Nordic feeling here in Switzerland, I decided to bake some saffron knots with an almond butter filling. I found this recipe as I searched for St. Lucia saffron buns. It all starts by mixing warm milk or plant-based milk with sugar, saffron and yeast. After everything is combined, I added softened butter or margarine, some more sugar, salt and then flour. I kneaded the dough by hand for about 15 minutes. If you're fortunate enough to have a stand mixer, you can let the machine do the work for you in about 10. Place the smooth dough in a bowl and let it rest for an hour. After the dough has had its well-deserved rest, I rolled it out, spread out the almond paste and cut up the dough into individual pieces. After that came the tricky part, as I had to twist and then roll the knots up before giving them an additional time to prove before baking for 10 to 12 minutes. Everything spiced just automatically lifts my mood in the darker times of the year, and adding some saffron to a sweet baked good is incredibly delicious. If you're looking for maybe something a little different to bake during this winter time, this might just be your thing. Typically during the winter we spend a lot more time indoor than the rest of the year. In order to up our offline time, we explored new hobbies and got crafty. My wife in particular discovered a passion for the art of Makramee knitting, an art that proves remarkably accessible for anybody seeking to unleash their creativity and acquire a new skill. It requires very little to start with, as you only need a little bit of yarn to get going. For learning your first knots, some kitchen wire is actually sufficient. During our Christmas break, my wife spent hours exploring this newfound hobby and crafted some super beautiful things like a handbag or some decorative keychains. This is a great crafty hobby if you want something that you can do completely offline and enjoy a meditative flow that it can get you in. Maybe if macrame is not your thing, you can explore a different crafty hobby and learn a new skill. Cold temperatures call for warm, comforting beverages. In Switzerland, Glühwein and Punsch are some very popular winter beverages that you'll find in any Christmas market. Since those markets are not quite for me, I took a different route. As you might know, I love coffee in every different form that there is, and for me the winter is the perfect season for filter coffee. Filter coffee for me is a great way to try out new, very interesting coffees that are something completely different to the regular espresso-based coffees that I drink every day. They tend to be roasted lighter than your typical espresso and therefore carry a very broad spectrum of interesting tasting notes. Have you ever wanted to explore coffees that don't taste like your everyday brew, that can feature super complex tasting notes from floral to berries, caramel to green tea? Then maybe trying out filter or pour over coffee might just be a great starting point for you. As a little Christmas gift to myself, I got a special filter coffee set from a Swiss roastery that I absolutely love. It includes specialty coffee beans of varieties like geisha or pink bourbon. For coffee nerds, these names probably spark a little curiosity. I prepared them in my Chemex and used the opportunity of having multiple different beans to actually taste them side by side. While I do still prefer more ordinary types of coffee. I am still a very simple person at heart. This was a very cool experience. I had a lot of fun exploring these coffees and would absolutely recommend you to explore different kinds of coffee if you want to go on a little flavor journey. For me, the winter and the shift into a new year feels like a perfect invitation to do some extensive self-reflection and introspection. The darkness around me naturally makes me feel a little bit more introverted, and the end of the year presents a great opportunity to reflect and look forward. I like to look back at the year and remember beautiful moments. I like to reflect on what has happened that I enjoyed and also what I don't want in the following year. To have a more systematic approach for this self-reflection, I like to use two approaches that can also be combined to have a certain framework or structure. The first one is quite simple. I take a blank piece of paper and divide it into 3 parts. I write down the titles keep, more, less. And then I write down things like emotions, interactions, activities, etc. into each sector and try to figure out a way to make it work. This is a very simple but honest way to better align your values and your actions, which is a key to a truly happy life in my eyes. A second framework that I like to use is called the Wheel of Life. The name sounds super cliche, I know, but it's actually very useful. This circle is divided into different sectors that generally make up everyday life. What I first like to do is rate each sector with my current level of happiness or satisfaction from 1 to 10. 1 being very unhappy with the current situation, so it needs a lot of change, and 10 being entirely satisfied. There is nothing that can improve this sector. And then I go through each sector of the wheel and try to analyze it. Why is this sector rated the way it is? What is good? What could be improved? What should I keep doing moving forward? And what should be removed? Of course, for this framework, you can incorporate the keep more or less pattern that I just mentioned. I know that self-reflection can be hard and sometimes even very uncomfortable if you are truly honest to yourself. But I know for myself that I profit so much from doing it, so I keep repeating the practice time and again. For the last activity, I invite you to look around you and your home. I'm pretty sure that you will see something that you have been wanting to fix or get to, but you never did. I sure have certain areas in our house that I just keep putting off instead of just doing what needs to be done. But being more inside and not being able to work in the garden or other things outside, I had to face the truth and finally get to those things that I had procrastinated over for far too long. In my case, that was putting new light bulbs into several different light sources of the house. I don't know why exactly this task was so off-putting to me, but after finishing this simple task and making my home a little bit more pretty, I felt a simple sense of accomplishment. A nice home contributes so much to a healthy mind, and if you have something that you might have been putting off for a little while, now might be the perfect time to do so. Happy New Year, everybody, and if you celebrated, I hope you had a very pleasant and very happy holiday season. This was the winter activities for living a slow life. I had a lot of fun doing these videos. They are always a lot of work, but I love the creativity that I can put into them and the mood that it puts myself into. I love the winter. I love the winter, especially here in the countryside. We've had some snow, not too much yet, unfortunately. I hope that we get some nice cold temperatures back very soon. There's nothing nicer than going for a walk and it is super cold outside. I just love that feeling of the super fresh air. It is so crisp and you can feel it on your skin. And it is just so refreshing and makes you feel alive. I absolutely love it. And even though it can be a little challenging with the cold and the darkness, it is a beautiful season and I am looking forward to it every single year, even though it is challenging from time to time.
last time for the fall activities video, you guys gave me a lot of great suggestions for activities, and if you have some winter activities that you would like to share, feel free to put them in the comments and I would love to interact with you. If you want to follow me along on my slow living journey here in the Swiss countryside, then feel free to come along. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video. Stay healthy, take care, and bye-bye.